fans, guess what? We've only gone and done it. Yeah. Don't you know?
Get in there.
Sunderland's going up and all that sort of wonderful
I hate
stuff.
to say I told you so.
Which we all know is the biggest pack of lies ever.
I know, we're absolutely loving telling people so. Exactly. Just to start, before we get in there, Las Palmas Mackham's on the chat. Evening, lads. SJ's in there asking about Job. We'll get on to Job if we get a bit of time. Very much still celebrating at the moment, aren't we, Michael? I think I saw a lot of your videos where we were talking about, people were mentioning, well, what players are this and systems this? And it was like, we're just enjoying this week. That time will come. We've got to enjoy these moments when they come along. And for nearly a decade of what felt like a downward trajectory, I think we're allowed to enjoy a week of just enjoy this week as it is, as it stands. SAFC Tom on there as well as Coffee Goblin, who says, we are Premier League. Say, we are Premier League. Oh, it feels good, doesn't it, to say it? So let's relive it all again. But before we start, Mike, you're that side. I'm hosting you that side this time. How have you been today, Mike?
All right, yeah, busy. Not just celebrating being Premier League, but new house as well. So that's all in the works at the moment. So
a Premier League house.
Well, it's definitely a division up from what I've got at the moment.
Oh, well, that's always good.
You know, Mike, you've got the perfect excuse for Mike to say, you're in our house, you play by Premier League rules.
You've got to. And Michael, you'll be, I imagine, shattered after you had a holiday to Edinburgh and then it was all the way down to London and back as well. And now you've been at work. You must be absolutely knackered, I imagine, at this point.
Yeah, well, do you know what? It was weird because the little trip to Edinburgh, it was basically just 2 days for one night, really, which was already organised about a couple of months ago, or in the works a couple of months. And then obviously we only get the playoff final. So it's literally one end of the country to the other, all within the space of about 5 days. But you know what? Who cares? It was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. I think I'm more relieved to have taken a mental break from Sunderland. Not that I'm obviously not happy that we've won, but when you get to the end of each season, you feel like you've emotionally given a lot and you've mentally given a lot, and you feel you're just kind of like, right, I need a little bit of, well, providing nothing disastrous happens in the window, like I need a bit of like chill time, really. But
yeah. And what a way to begin your chill time, we have to say as well. What a way to begin that sort of.
Well, absolutely, of course. Any excuse to absorb and embrace and talk about the weekend, you know. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, it's like you said, though. I mean, we've literally put up with crap, nothing non-stop within the last decade alone. I would even say going back further than that. But you know, the last 8 years has been probably some of the most challenging that Sunderland will have ever had to have had in their history. So it almost feels like it's kind of come more full circle at the moment in that we've now ended our 8-year absence from the Premier League, which if you really look at it for a club of our size isn't good enough. But here's what it is. We've done it now. And yeah, I was absolutely, obviously I've been jubilant. I've been mentally exhausted, everything that goes with it. And as you know, like it's different emotions to last week where I went from, oh crap, this is the playoff final too. No, it's all right. We've got this. Although I must admit, when it was getting 20 minutes to go and then just before my ender scored, I was thinking, I can't have nice things, can I? That's what it was. I'm sure every Sunderland fan was starting to feel like that. But
I felt like that when the second goal went in.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come on to that anyway. So let's relive the weekend, as it were. So I mean, Michael, I know you travelled down. The first time in Trafalgar Square, seeing all the fans the night before. What did you make of all of that?
Well, obviously, I've seen our fans get to Trafalgar Square before, like previous times to Wembley. But obviously, there's a difference between seeing it on social media and being in amongst it. And I thought it was class. I think it just goes to prove how stupidly mental our fans are. Obviously, as you know, in the Northeast or if you support a club in the Northeast, your religion is football. Like more times than not for people, your religion is the football club you support. But it was really good to see. It kind of almost made it feel more real to me that we had a game the next day, because beforehand I was reasonably calm from my level, and that was pretty decent. But when you look at Trafalgar, I'm thinking, don't let these lot down. You know, that's kind of what I was thinking. And don't get me wrong, even if we'd lost, we still would have had a good season. We would have had a very good season, in fact. But it's just made so much better by the fact we did win. But to answer your question with Trafalgar Square, I mean, the only thing I probably didn't like about it was that I was inhaling a lot of flair, and that wasn't, and it doesn't taste very nice. So maybe if anything, the security could have confiscated flares instead of booze. But you know what? Nah. I mean, so if you see one of my videos is the vlog of my weekend, pretty much. And obviously, a couple of the clips on there is of people having the flares in Trafalgar Square and everything else. So no, but the night was great, and it's so much better when you go down for the weekend for me now, as opposed to going back there and back in the day. But yeah, no, Trafalgar Square was absolutely crazy as I'd expected it to be, and it didn't disappoint.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. I mean, I've been to the one before Charlton and the one before Portsmouth both times, and that was an experience, shall we say. And like you say, you end up sitting there going, I really hope we do it just for everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's not even about your own sort of want at that moment. You're just like, look at what this means to everybody. And they're all here at this moment. I mean, Mike, have you been to one of them before?
Charlton. So I was down.
So what you're both saying is that when you both go to Trafalgar Square, we lose. Yeah. When we don't go, we win.
Yeah, that could be.
Conrad, did you go to the Wickham one?
No.
Wickham.
And I didn't go to the Tranmere one either.
You taking one for the team and making sure we get over the line.
Exactly, yeah. So Tranmere, Wickham, and now Sheffield United. Yeah, so I think
it's quite crazy that though. That's 3 Wembley wins on the spin, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, which you never thought Cobra Tree Tranmere ever think
4 years ago, you'd have never have even said we'd have got one, let alone two.
Well, we all know how big Tranmere was with how we Philly said it was more important than going up that year. So
exactly. A couple of comments come in. SJ, I'll be delighted if Job stays, but the rumours are circulating a lot. And then he's mentioning about Jordan Henderson as well. Coffee Goblin saying his experience would be vital. So we're obviously talking about those there. We'll have to come back to those because Henderson, of course, was at the game as we saw in the celebrations.
I loved how many club legends, as it were at the game. Peter Reid there, Phillips. Obviously, Phillips is there, part of the Sky team, but Quinn, Henderson,
Defoe,
everyone. Defoe, anyone
Gooch,
who could
Jack
make
Clark,
it.
I know he's not a legend, but Jack Clark was there apparently.
Yeah, he was.
Vito Manoni even put a message out to the fans on Sunderland's X as well.
Yeah, I think Barini did one afterwards as well.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, I wonder if Pickford and Ahmad are there, but of course they had games on Sunday, the final ones in the Premier League, so it was unlikely.
Ahmad was at the Coventry game, though, to be fair, I think, wasn't he?
He was,
Pickford as well, because of the Montgomery sort of tribute and the stand naming after him. Pickford was out there as well. So I'm just going to jump ahead to the day of the game now. So the lineup is announced, of course, beforehand, and I think we briefly touched upon it in our preview video. Do we still have it? No, I don't have it written down here anymore. It's not on the team, but if I get it up quickly, Michael, you'll be able to remember it anyway. So what was your...
I've got it in front of me, if that helps.
Oh, there you go. Go on. You do the honours, please. Do the honours.
Right, are you wanting me to mention 09, or you want me to mention Metham since...
Just mention 09, because we'll get to the 09 part.
Yeah. Okay. So you had Patterson, Hume, Ballard, 09, and Sirkin. Obviously, it's the back five. Then, according to this, Lefebvre was up front with Mayenda, which we know that's nonsense. But anyway, it's basically
live scores, was it?
No, it's BBC Sport actually.
Oh God!
Funny enough. But anyway, no. Everyone posts different systems, so I don't know who to take seriously. But let's just say it was Rigg and Mundell out wide to start with, and then I think it was Neil, Job, and Lefebvre behind Mayenda. Obviously, as a midfield three. So I think it was 4-3-3 to start with, or 4-2-3-1. But that's the gist of what the team is. But obviously, 5 minutes in, the team had to be changed, didn't it? So, but yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, when you saw that lineup, and I'll come to Mike because I'm aware I've sort of neglected you at the moment here, Mike. What was your thoughts when you saw that lineup? Because we talked about how it's unlikely we were going to stick with two up top from the Coventry sort of position, and we were going to revert back. So, what were your thoughts when you saw that lineup?
I think we called it spot on when we had our little preview show. We did our live show. I think we called that it would go back to that. We called that it would be Mayenda, Isidore on the bench, sort of thing, and even to the point of saying Rigg starting over Roberts. I think we pretty much called that entire lineup before the game on our show. But yeah, obviously, like Michael says, my heart goes out for 09. What a game for that to happen on. So
I know. But if you were ever going to have that happen to you and what it meant afterwards, like if they ever said to you, you're going to miss this game, but you win, He's the
But
type of person that would be
Yeah,
absolutely
09
fine
would be
with
like,
that.
nah, you would take that. You'd take the result, wouldn't you?
You'll be immortalized holding a trophy up with one hand
One
in a
hand,
sling.
yeah, absolutely, and
He's
running
an
the length of the
absolute
pitch.
nutter for that, by the way.
Yeah, running the length of the pitch to celebrate with my ender and then give the team a team talk as well. It was just like, you are an absolute hero of mine.
You could literally break every bone in his body and he'd still try to run on the pitch.
Well,
So,
I knew it was dislocation before they said anything, because I was saying on the live commentary, he's dislocated that because the physio was almost trying to pop it in.
Yeah,
You could see that before he really didn't want to come off. He was trying to get the physio to pop it back in, sort of thing. It's like,
hadn't he had that before, like a couple of years ago in the last League One year? I think there was a point when
surgery
he kept on dislocating it, and then it kept popping back in before he had to have surgery on it. So that was right in front of us. Obviously, it was about 5 minutes, I think it was, or 3-4 minutes. Certainly, of him being.
It was only actually it was less than it was just over a minute on the clock when Kiefer Moore's header that Patterson, unbelievable save by the way, diving backwards to claw it out from behind him, and it's got to be up there with the Montgomery save. Really, I know that's an FA Cup final and that's like top tier goalkeeping, but
this is still a significant save in the game of how big a
significant save in the game, because you could have been 1-0 down after a minute, and not only that, the touch from an 09 itself fairly innocuous when he went up, and you could see it was hurting him before he went down because he starts to. Do you know what I mean? Grab it as he
rolls into it, doesn't he? But I mean, that save for me, that Pickford's that's ultimate confidence builder.
Patterson's.
1 minute Patterson, sorry, ultimate confidence.
We'll sign him
builder,
this summer,
1 minute
don't
into
worry.
the game.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean?
It has to be.
As soon as he made that save, I'm like, that's good. That's the kind of day you need to have, not one of those days where you jump and miss completely.
It like you say, it sort of set up me up. I'm never like. We've had our issues with Patterson this season, so we say, at moments where he was coming out and wasn't claiming things and going like that. But straight away, we all knew as a fan base, we're like, he's on it today. Like straight away, not even like had a little touch of the ball or anything first, and he's already flinging himself into the corner behind himself to claw it out. But
and we know Kiefer Moore can head a ball with precision as well, like with really good speed and accuracy. So.
Absolutely, and of course, but that did mean at the moment that 09 was then down injured, and like we said, we know when he stays down, it's exactly what we said. It could be linked to his previous ones. When 09 stays down, it's genuine. Something's wrong, very much so. So of course he went off, and then the average age of the team got even less. The 28, 29-year-old going off for a 26-year-old coming on, but a 26-year-old with 61 Premier League appearances to his name in Chris Meppen. And I mean, how did you see that change affecting us, Michael? Like from beforehand, and then seeing the result of what was happening from that change.
I think it was one where obviously it isn't at centre back is where you need the most consistency in terms of building a partnership and building trust among each other. And obviously, I know goalkeeper's massive in that regard, but in outfield player positions, you could effectively afford to change a right winger every so often, or left winger, centre mid, strike, whatever. You need to, but when you're in a back three or a back two, and you're with a partnership at centre half rather, you need to have consistency in that regard. So, but to be fair, I mean, Ballard and Mepham have known each other now pretty much all season, really. I was gutted. It was gutting for 09 because I think 09's technical ability in terms of bringing the ball out is actually a little bit underrated. It's a bit underrated for me in the sense that obviously he's not the most technically gifted player in the world, but I think him and Ballard or him and Mepham complement each other quite well, because Ballard and Mepham can sort of do the no-nonsense defender type stuff. Whereas 09 is the one who can distribute the ball a little bit better. So obviously you then got Ballard and Mepham coming together, both of whom are centre-backs and defenders first, which I quite like, but it does tend to... But obviously that wouldn't have helped things. Although to be fair to both of them, I thought in the second half both were very good for the most part. But in the first half, you could tell that I think that kind of rocked, at least up until the disallowed goal, it did kind of rock us a little bit, I think.
It definitely did, and I'm sure, Mike, as you were watching the same stream as me, you were sitting there for that first sort of 20-ish minutes going, God, we need to get a hold of this, and we just didn't seem to quite have our mojo and our flow.
Yeah, I think it took a while to work out, because if anyone noticed, Ballard started on one side of that centre two and then moved over like later on. Mepham and Ballard kind of swapped over, and I think the first goal for them, it plays to where 09 might have been there running in. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of, and as much as they're both great defenders, I've always said that Meffin and Ballard are very similar. So that's why we might have 3 players round 1, and then you've got this open man at the right that Lafay's trying to catch up with, but no defence is there. So 09 going off could have been detriment for that goal, but I mean, luckily, didn't matter in the end. And they are both great players, and I think Ballard being on such form that he is helped that going into the second half.
Definitely. And like you say, even from that corner, I don't know if you've seen the replays of it, Meppen's talking to like Neil and someone else trying to work out where he's supposed to be from our attacking corner. And he ends up, when the corner's taken, he's outside the D, almost as the option for a pullback. And of course, the ball breaks out and Hamer's running after it and he's chasing after Hamer and he isn't catching him for anything. And then Neil comes across on the cover and you think he's doing all right. They've sort of locked him in. But like you say, Campbell bursts an absolute gut to get through the middle and Lafay's trying his hardest but can't catch him. And, dinks it over Patterson with an absolute brilliant finish, and one that for a striker who hadn't scored in 8 didn't look that way at that moment with his one chance, one goal. So, I mean, what was your initial thoughts, Michael, when obviously we go 1-0 down, 26 minutes, and we've had a system change already, a forced system change, I should say?
That we're destined for me to never be happy that we don't keep clean sheets anymore. But no, to be fair, I mean, if you're talking it from, I mean, obviously it's easy to say now, but looking at it from Sheffield United's point of view, it's exactly the type of goal that probably suited them, because apparently they're better when teams have a go against them. And it's funny how that was the first time we really went forward enough when we had an attacking set piece. And then, of course, they head it out and then it heads back to him. And Hamer actually is the one who single-handedly makes the goal because he has to run from their own third, right, pretty much near to our box. And it's a lovely, and the through ball to Campbell's actually a really, really good through ball. But for Campbell, I mean, he's thrived on that sort of service all season for Sheffield United. And actually, got to give credit. I mean, I don't particularly like Chris Wilder. I mean, I really hate the guy, but I've got to give him credit for that signing because, he left Stoke, was it, a year ago? And I think no one would have seen him doing that well for a team expected to be challenging for promotion. And, I think obviously they've managed his fitness well enough to the point where he's been able to play regularly because I believe he had his injury issues. But as far as the finish goes, no, to be fair, as soon as he got it, I said even then, ignore my frustrations with the fact that we got countered on and conceded from a counter-attack, which I was fuming about. But from Campbell's point of view, that is a cracking finish. It's a really cracking finish. And it's one where I was thinking, you've shown character in the playoff semis against Coventry. You're going to have to show that in an abundance now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was something that in the playoffs that we hadn't had to do, which was come from behind at this point. We've been pegged back a couple of times in terms of an equaliser in the first leg and even in the second leg, a technical equaliser over the course of it, but never behind. So, Mike, what was the stream in yourself like when you think 1-0 down and here we go? What's the day going to hold for us?
Devastated and lots of prayers from this agnostic fan. But yeah, I mean, it was at that point, going 1-0 down is not uncommon for us this season. So it's not like all hope was lost at that point. When we start to talk about the second goal, the disallowed one, when that went in, I thought, game over. And my heart just instantly went out to all the people that travelled down there. And I thought, oh, here, this is not looking good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was sat watching the corner thinking, right, we're 1-0 down. We just need to hold on, either get to half-time or build ourselves into the game here. And obviously they swing the corner in and you're thinking, great, headed it clear, beautiful. And then Burrows, I think it was, literally left foot volley. And then all of a sudden you just see it fly past Patterson. And I think I was just on the floor, like staring at the hardwood floor, like, what the hell's happening?
You have got to feel for Burrows a bit because what a strike. That's reminiscent of like Trey Hume coming in because he's a defender for them, isn't he? Trey Hume coming in and striking one of those wonder goals.
He's caught
that he does
so well. And like you said, and I don't think anyone even appealed. Patterson might have had a slight, arms up in the air, but he didn't really appeal for it. I mean, Mike, what was the atmosphere? Great coffee goblin, absolutely, and we'll take it all day long. What was the atmosphere like in the ground when that second one went in? Was anyone sort of appealing at the moment, or did everyone just sort of go, oh God, this is all going horribly wrong?
I think it was a mixture of the two. I think there were some fans that were kind of sort of saying that Patterson's vision was impeded when Burrows did strike the ball. And you're right, it is actually a really good strike, to be fair. Originally, I thought Pato could have done better in terms of saving it, but actually, it's just well hit outside the box. But yeah, I mean, there was, I don't know. I think a lot of us felt that even when they were checking the goal, I thought, if this is allowed, it's probably game over. I just didn't see us recovering from, because 1-0 you can still. I mean, you can still recover from 2-0 down, but like it's a big mountain to climb, especially in a playoff final against a team with parachute payments, to be able to try and turn that around and beat them in a final. But yeah, I think if you look at, and actually I haven't even seen it back, to be totally honest. But
it felt like a lifetime for that decision to come through.
It did,
on a
it? Yeah.
stream. I don't know what it felt like in the stadium, but I bet it
much
felt
longer
longer
in the stadium. Yeah, it felt. I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, Michael might remember this better, or both of you might, but how long it took on the coverage, because you had the clock to be able to tell you.
It was a good
3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, 3 or 4 minutes. I was going to say, but that includes from goal, and you're thinking, oh, it's 2-0.
But they also had the
whatever.
referee go to the monitor, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that's where. This is where I think one of the things I said in the ground was, well, anyway, then if you've got VAR, this is what you should be using it for.
Well,
to check.
Yeah, the commentators were even saying it was something that, because of the type of decision it is, it's now up to the referee if he thinks Vinny Souza is impacting Patterson. So it wasn't a case of the VAR are saying it's definitely wrong and you need to disallow it for this and this is why. They were saying, we want you to have a look at this because this is your subjective opinion if he's impacting Patterson.
Obviously, I mean, we see all the replays as this is decisions being talked about before he's even gone to the monitor. And as soon as I saw that angle where you're almost looking from behind Patterson and the shot comes in, he is stood straight in front of him. And literally, Patterson sees he still almost tries to get to it, but it's right next to him. If he could see that coming more than 3 foot, he'd have stopped it.
And it's
right
within
next to him.
It's within his reach as well. He could have got to it.
Definitely was impeded by him.
Yeah.
It was definitely interfering with play. You know, whether it's malicious or not, that's irrelevant to me.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose so. Was it originally that the referee saw nothing wrong with it, and then obviously VAR, whoever was operating VAR advised him to check the monitor. So I think there's, so I think that, look, if I'm going to be fair to the likes of Chris Wilder, and I'm going to be fair to Sheffield United fans, I can understand their frustration about how VAR has not been in place all season. And this is the same across Leagues 1 and 2, by the way, that they've not been using VAR all season long. And then for easily the biggest game of the season in each respective league, and then you've suddenly got VAR in there. Because if that's the case, then why... Well, I was going to say...
Why couldn't the semis do it?
Yeah, but I suppose the problem is that for a lot, it's having VAR. I don't know if it's installed or some system in place to have VAR at different grounds or whatever else is. I don't quite know how it works. Whereas Wembley would already have it.
Well, we were trying to say, a friend of mine the other day, and we were trying to list the Championship teams that have either been in the Premier League recently or have a ground that you think would be capable of doing it. And to be honest, it's the majority of them that are in there. You start to look at maybe like Oxford that couldn't, or something like that when you're starting to sort of go down to it. But, I mean, don't forget when we were in League One, they don't even use goal line technology. Like, it's sort of a weird thing that throughout the divisions, they sort of seem to take away a system that would really sort of help them out. But hey ho, the correct decision was found. I was
going to say, don't get me wrong, but didn't Pritchard in our first year in the Championship, didn't he say something to the effect of that VAR should be in the Championship, particularly with the promotion battle, with how much money's at stake and what is at stake for each individual club? So yeah.
I mean, the ref still has a lot of freedom in this, right? He doesn't have to go to VAR, because at one point towards the end, I was shouting and bawling because I think it was Roberts that was running through and got mullered by 2 of them, and the linesman flagged for the free kick.
Did.
And the ref just
I lost my cool at that point.
Yeah, ref just went no, and it carried on. I'm like, what the?
Yeah,
he's right next to it.
Yeah, I know. I remember looking at it. I think I stood up going, "You can't do that. It's not right." But
I thought you sounded like Mark Goldbridge there. You can't do that.
I know. No, but I mean, as we were all, the correct is it's one of those rules. It's one of those rules I hate when you think about it. Like, oh, it doesn't actually do anything, but it's right, and it was the correct decision, and thankfully,
if it goes against you, you're fuming, aren't you?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Probably, I think at the time, I don't know how it felt for you two watching it on stream, but I think for me, in the ground, there was you probably heard it. There was a massive roar when that got disallowed.
Yeah,
and I kind of thought, maybe we've got a lifeline into this game here. So, but
it felt like the wake up call.
Yeah, well, I don't know do you guys think that rocked Sheffield United? That being decided, I think it did. I think it had an impact. I think it had an impact on the way that they approached the rest of the game. Personally.
Yeah, I think it took out a lot of the wind that they were
In
creating.
their sails,
Yeah, absolutely, and sort of going for us. And they sort of went, all right, well, let's just see it out to halftime. We're going to have about 10 minutes added on anyway because of the 09 injury and then the VAR one as well. So I think they sort of thought, just settle in. We're all right at the minute, and we'll reevaluate it. But we still can't get over the point. It was correct. It was ruled out correctly, and thank the Lord for VAR. We might not be saying that next season a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's
this
see how many times
moment,
we're saying it in the Premier League. But
let's keep a running count
for the
next
moment
season
we
of
love
pros
it.
and cons.
For the moment we like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, of course, we get to half time, and I think, Mike, you were the same as me when I joined back in the stream. We were saying he's got to change it because what's the point in sitting, with this same system? It's not working. We're not playing very well. We were listing players who could come on, but really the biggest thing that needed to change, we were saying, was the intensity and the urgency of our players. And what did you think at half time?
Yeah, and I think the people in our chat on the live stream as well pretty much called it as well, saying we need to bring take Rig off for Roberts was one of the calls that they were saying.
Yeah, Rig didn't have a great first half, did he?
And Neil off for Isidore was the other call people were saying. I think over the Coventry games and this game, it's probably the best tactical substitutions that I've seen from Reggie Labrie, which gives me hope heading into the Premier League.
Well, he gave him...
It was like, 85 minutes, we're losing, and I've still not made a sub. That was really questionable.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he jumped in 13 minutes is all in the second half. He gave him 13 minutes, and in that 13 minutes, we were certainly better than we were in the first half. But he gave him that, and then he swapped Rig for Roberts, which was a positive change, and one that we were saying after the semi needed to be that way, but actually it really helped this way round that Roberts came on, was fresh, running at
so much to prove as well,
And then I think I was looking at 73 minutes or whatever that is later on, another 13 minutes there. You take Isidore, you put Isidore on for Neil, and you swap Watson for Mundle. I know there was a lot of people questioning why Mundle's gone off, but yellow card.
I was one of them. I was one of them. You've got
to remember, apart from the semi-finals extra time, pretty much, Mundle hadn't played since the start of April.
No.
The commentator said he hadn't finished a 90 minutes since Hull away.
Right.
Which is obviously back in like October time when we won 3 on the bounce as well. So
yeah,
it's been a long time since he's completed a game. So you're sitting there going, right, well, he's done 73 minutes and he's on a yellow card and we need him to get at these, the fullbacks. So that one just made sense of swapping a like for like, really. And someone who's very direct in Watson. So obviously we make those changes. We tweak it a little bit. We've got 2 up top. Roberts is out right. Enzo's dropped deep into the midfield with Job, and Watson's was where he is. And beautifully, 3 minutes later, Michael, we are back in the game somehow. Thoughts?
Well, the first thing I'll quickly credit before I talk about this is that Anthony Patterson, less than 10 minutes, I think, before this, made a massive save.
I got that, yeah.
From Andre, is it Andre Brooks? I think you had?
Yeah, Brooks.
Had the one-on-one tackle. I think the ball floats into the box. I think, is it Sirkin, I think, who misses the flight of the ball completely. And
he doesn't go for the header, and then, Brooks nips in.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? Funny enough, actually, and it's in both games, at some point in the second half, Patterson's had to make big saves. You remember the Wickham one, when Sam Vokes had a one-on-one?
Yeah.
Yeah, where Bailey Wright mistimes the flight of the ball. And then this time, obviously, Andrew Brooks gets in behind Sirkin. Obviously, I think he just come on as well.
Yeah.
So Patterson obviously made that save. And again, if you're thinking, if that goes in, I love that. Love that, mate. But yeah, if that goes in, then you go, game done. We're not going to, the best we're hoping for is extra time in that scenario. But yeah, I mean, to be fair to Sunderland, I actually think in the second half, although we weren't creating as many chances as what I would have liked to have done, considering that you had Chowdhury, who isn't a right back yet, Ahmed Hozic and Jack Robinson, neither are quick. And I thought, well, our strength is actually a bit of pace. And I thought that, it's funny, remember the League One days when we were crying out for teams, players with pace. And now it seems like we had them in abundance with the likes of Mundle and the likes of Mayenda. So, yeah, I think the goal was kind of just rewards, really, because I think it kind of felt like Sheffield United were just on the verge of, right, let's just sit back and defend 1-0. And to be fair to them, up until that point, we hadn't created quite as much, although our intensity was starting to build. But yes, once Mayenda scored, I think obviously the limbs weren't any, the celebrations weren't anywhere near as good as it were for the winner. Of course, they wouldn't have been, but it was kind of a bit of relief, but also right. Come on, we can get at these and win the game. And from that point, I felt there was only one team looking like they were going to win it. Sheffield United it looked like us scoring weren't in Sheffield United. Actually, it's kind of similar to how we've been at points this season where we think we'll just defend a lead and then the opposition score and it's like, oh shit, that wasn't in our plans. And that's what it felt like Sheffield United were like. I don't know what you two think, but once we scored, they couldn't live with us from that point onwards till the end of the game.
Yeah, Mike, go on, take it away. What was your reactions and exactly that? What Sheffield United
apart
like
from
at that
shouting,
moment?
"Get in"?
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't break your headphones this time for either goal.
I was very disciplined, and people were trying to send me super chats to smash up my headphones. I don't know why this was happening, but
come on, Mike, we'll send you money to pay for new headphones. Go on, once you smash it.
But it was unbelievable, and what a player he has turned out to be. If you'd asked me when we signed Isidore and we had Mienda, who was going to be more prolific, I'd have probably said Isidore, but Mienda has just become this absolutely amazing player. And can we talk about the celebration? Can we just talk about the Randy Orton celebration? Yeah. What's that all
Randy
about?
Orton actually referenced that, didn't he?
Yeah.
And they asked him about it in an interview, and he said, "I just like Randy Orton." That's nothing about it. Yeah, just.
I absolutely love him. He's coming to his own as a player. He's coming to his own as a character in the team, as in the squad, interacting with the fans. Seems to have his own hype men, has shades on standby for every win. What an absolute legend he is turning out to be. Hope we keep hold of him for a very long time. I was over the moon with the goal, and like you said, as soon as that went in, it wasn't a case of, oh, can we just do this? Can we just sneak this? I thought, we're doing this. This is happening.
Hey, Terry,
absolutely.
Legend.
So just changing subject recently, I don't know if any of you have seen the news about the horrible incident going on in Liverpool of the car ploughing through the supporters there. Just want to sort of stop and say sort of all...
Oh, seriously?
All thoughts to, everyone affected down in Liverpool there. No one should have to, be going out for football and then either get injured or not return home. So every thoughts go out with everyone, affected.
Absolutely bang on, especially when that was meant to be a celebratory occasion as well.
Absolutely. So, we just needed to mention that bit there. So... just getting back onto it, because I think even when we were talking about Randy Orton, I think he's even done Instagram posts of Mienda doing the pose as well and talking to each other. So, we've got a legend on the pitch talking to the legend killer. Absolutely, yeah. Randy Orton knows exactly where the best club in the Northeast is. And it used to be Vinnie Mac linked to Newcastle, but Randy Orton is Sunderland through and through now. So we'll take that. So,
we'll have them clash at each other next season.
Absolutely. So I think, though, both of you make the correct point, which is Sheffield United were terrified at that moment because that was not in their plans that we'd even been in this game so far. Even though the second half we'd been the better team, I think they felt we've got them here. They haven't really had any proper clear-cut chances. And then within one moment, arguably our first proper go at goal, we're level. And they're suddenly thinking, oh, God, what do we do? Why is this game not being, put to bed or anything like that? But here we go. Underrated moment, and he deserves a statue for it, is Luke O'Nien pelting it down the touchline with his sling on, celebrating like mad, and then giving them all a team talk as well, just sort of like instructing them. Just
Mienda goes for the hug and then goes, oh, yeah, just one side.
He went, actually, I guess not. Yeah. And then he still hit his pose anyway. And I even think from that moment, I was like, yeah, this is our moment now. And I know Terry's in the chat there as well. I was watching Terry's video, and I think me and Mike both said the same thing, which is how many people said 2-1? They fancied Sunderland to win 2-1. It was I had 2-1.
Sure all three of us went 2-1.
No, I was ridiculous. No, I was 3-0.
Oh,
we went 2-1.
Mike, you said Sunderland to win, so just hit me. But honestly, from the moment when we equalised, I thought, right, let's just stay in it for the minute, because sometimes you're vulnerable when you scored. But even then, I think for the 5 minutes afterwards, I thought, these can't live with us. And this is what I've been saying all this, as you guys know, I've been quite critical of Sheffield United's performances in that I don't think for a parachute team, and it still baffles me that they finished on 90 points, because I think that's at least 10 points too generous. And it was, there you go, Terry. I said after extra times, that's the one caveat to that, but I did get the score right. I think Conrad said the same thing as well. So I think we both went 2-1.
No, I said 2-1 in normal. I don't think I went to extra time.
Oh, you got you outdid me then in that regard. But like,
I know.
Yeah,
but
I wish Mike's would have been.
While we're talking about predictions, just sorry to interrupt you there, Michael. Obviously, we run a predictions league here, and Mike's already shaking his head because he knows what's coming. So we did have a winner, Mike. Before we get to it, there we have a winner. So Lee, who I don't know if he's in the chat at the moment. There, I'll just take that banner off, Mike, so we can see you at the bottom there.
Oh, look, there I am.
Yeah. So Lee got 2-1. Same with me as well. So I moved up into 5th place. But of course, Lee has won it with 3. So Lee has been getting in contact with us to get some goodies from.
I've got his address. I need to go back to him and get his shirt size. But he will be getting a Black Cats TV shirt and a mug at least, and possibly some other bits and pieces.
So well done,
just
Lee.
Your bank holiday weekend couldn't have got any better.
And it was great for me because it meant that I beat Mike. That's all that mattered to me.
You've got a competitive side to you, Conrad. That's very right. I'll fill you in.
Fair, though.
I'm wearing green for a reason. Green is the jealousy colour.
Conrad's looking back at it. He can go, thank God Tyrese Campbell scored because we still won and I beat Mike to the prediction. So 3-0 couldn't have happened.
Right. Let me just put this in perspective for you, Michael Bowers. He starts that league out, right? I got a point first, so I was on there, right? And it'd been going on for a while, and I still had one, and he got a point, right? There was about 6 of us on a point. So when he put himself on the table, he put me to the bottom of the ones and him to the top of the ones.
Alphabetical.
Yeah, all right.
I think, it was like you say, there was about between 4th and 10th, we were all on the same points, and I was 4th and you were 10th. Like, that's just how it works. So, well done, Lee. Well, so we'll be obviously starting that again next season with the predictions. I think we even said I asked ChatGPT before the game who it said if it was going to win, Sunderland or Sheffield, and it said us. So I'll ask ChatGPT next season and see if it can beat us in a few of the predictions anyway.
Yeah, we'll have AI on the leaderboard.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll get ChatGPT a Sunderland shirt at the end or something like that, so that when Terminator's rising, it'll go, actually, these are all right. They want me a Sunderland shirt.
Yeah, we're like, these have a chance of staying up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, right. If you look at it, I think the thing that disappointed me throughout a lot of the game.
Cheers, Tom.
I like Tom.
He's always been the boss. It's fine.
Mike's going to go, Tom, I thought you were my friend.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I think the thing that annoyed me throughout the game, from Sun's point of view at that point, because again, Ahmed Hozic and Robinson aren't quick. Chowdhury's out of position. Burrows I like, to be fair, but I always felt like our team was too good not to cause them problems. And I thought, right, why aren't we causing them more issues? It wasn't a case that I thought they were defending particularly well. I think it was just our final third decision-making was pretty poor up to that point. But again, I think that sometimes when you have a goal go against you, or if you're losing and then you score an equalizer, it's amazing how mentally things change from that point. And like I said, you could just tell. I think both Sheffield United and Sunderland had a period in the game where both were the better side, or what they would consider on top. But the difference is when we were on top and had our period of being the better side, I thought we looked much closer to dominating the game than what, say, Sheffield United did. And again, it just comes back to Sheffield United, for me, have got that tactics they tried to employ against us. They've done that so many times this season to the point where I think they've been quite fortunate to win the number of games that they have. And eventually, when they play someone decent, then they come up short against them. I've got to quickly get this off my chest, though. Michael Cooper and Sheffield United's time-wasting tactics, calm as a bitch. There you go.
Absolutely. And
I was getting so frustrated in the ground when the referee kept letting that happen.
I know. It was getting on my nerves. But go on, Mike.
We addressed Reggie Labrie in a full suit. Right?
His collar was a bit big for him, though, wasn't it?
I know, but he was still in a full suit for this occasion. He looked like, he'd borrowed somebody's suit. Fair enough. And then Wilder looks like he's come in his pajamas. Yeah. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I know. It did look a bit weird that there was a bit of a different, but it's a bit like when Alex Neil rocked up in a full suit at the playoff final last time, and then as soon as the game kicked off, he was suddenly in his tracksuit, and it was like, was that underneath your suit? You suddenly
ripped off like
and then Ainsworth was in his jeans and his shirt like buttoned down to here and his brogues, and he's sitting there going, "Behave, you dick!" Like you proper football manager, behave. So yeah, but it did look weird, and his collar was a little bit big, but we'll forgive him because he got the job done. So that's absolutely fine. So we'll obviously have to talk about the winner shall we say, and in a similar moment to the winner down at Coventry in the first leg, where a player gives a pass back without really looking where he's going to a Sunderland player. I'm going to start with you, Mike, because I know obviously it's doing quite well on the stream at the moment, in our shorts, of the reaction for your goal to Watson. So. What were the scenes like in the Chapel household?
Well,
for me, it was just unreal and felt written in the stars, and what a gift to give the fans. And I know a lot of fans had been on his back. You can't blame the lad for taking the offer he took, 10 million. You can't blame the club for taking that. At the time when it happened, I think we even said it's a great deal. He could turn good. He might not be all that great. But yeah, he's secured us not just 10 million, but I think you said, Conrad, 110 million, because obviously
it's even more apparently now. It's like 210 million.
I'm sure that Sky Sports have said it was something like 220
million.
It's
220 now or something.
But I know you don't get that until some of that you don't get till the end of the next season. But like the money that's transformed the club financially. That one goal has just done absolutely everything. But sorry, Mike, go on.
Do you think? I mean, I think it earns him a lot of merit in the club and with a lot of fans. And we've seen young lads come through like Jordan Henderson and then go for 20 million and always have that tie to the club. And I think we'll see the same from Tommy Watson, because he is a boyhood fan and he does love the place. And full credit. And I was, I think I said, can we keep him when I was.
Yeah. You did. You went, can we keep him? Can we keep him? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never know. They might loan him back. You never know.
It was great. Felt written in the stars. Everything's felt like fate for this whole playoff.
Yeah.
Like from Ballard's last minute header to Watson getting the goal, even though he has no obligation to play his heart out in that game. He's already gone, but he did it for the fans, and I love that.
I have to show this comment just because Coffee Goblin has absolutely trumped it by saying, someone put Lebrie was having a funeral, and then it was like, for Sheffield United.
To be fair, I was in on Twitter. I'm in a championship like sort of panel group chat. I mean, it was started last season by a Leicester fan, so we can start.
So he left immediately, is what you're saying, and you've invited him back in now.
Absolutely, but no, I think there's a Leicester fan in there that started the chat. Then there was obviously me. There was a Bristol City fan, a Burnley fan, Leeds fan, Cardiff fan, etc. Anyway, so I think a couple of them were talking about Chris Wilder, and I was saying, so Dan, the Burnley fan, put a picture of Reggie Lebrie in the suit, and I said, see, he's attending the funeral for Sheffield United's promotion campaign and Chris Wilder's promotion. So Reggie shows the respect. He's a classy guy. So you've got to give him his dues for that. The first time at Wembley, he dresses for the occasion.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just strange to see him change. Do you know what I mean? But a welcome change anyway. But Michael, I should say, the atmosphere in the stadium that got. I mean, I don't know if this is just me, but when I've watched back the highlights about a million times already now, it feels like Mayenda's goal celebration was louder, because I think the noise of the second goal was more shock and more like, oh my God, like more actually, I can't believe we're going to win. Like this is it. We've won the game. Whereas it was like, the other one was like, oh yes, we've done it. We're back in, it's been coming. Yeah. But I mean, what did you think of the winner, as it were?
My emotions were all over the place. I think my first initial reaction was shock, because although I felt we'd been knocking on the door and I felt like we were the ones forcing Sheffield United into mistakes, I didn't see it not going extra time, weirdly. Mm-hmm. So when it first hit the back of the net, I thought, we've actually fucking done this. That was my reaction straight away. And I think when I first, but then my initial reaction was get in, but also Sunderland, don't you dare score that goal and not be have it be the winning goal. Don't you dare switch off from the kickoff and concede a crap goal and have this go to extra time. You've worked your bollocks off to get in front here. And I apologise for the language here, but you have worked your absolute bollocks off to get in front. Do not waste it. That is literally kind of my sort of reaction in the ground. I think the first thing I said to a couple of my mates, so I went down to London with for the weekend and obviously to the game with, said, look, we're jubilant, but the game's not won yet. You've still got another route. And even, as you guys know, Jam Sarni, the legend that he is, he was there. he was standing behind me and the row behind me up in the gods, and I literally turned to him and went, because we knew there was going to be because there was a stoppage in what was it? There was a stoppage at the start of extra time. Sorry, added time, wasn't there? Sheffield United. Yeah. I wait for Ben in the chat because he wanted me to early, and I realised I didn't do it. But yeah, there was start of stoppage time. Sheffield United player went down injured. I can't remember who it was. So obviously there was going to be more minutes. Yeah, I thought he
when Trey Hume murdered him.
Trey Hume, I could not love you anymore. Not that I dislike Ben Brereton Diaz because he got us in the playoffs 2 years ago, so I've got respect for him for that. But more that it helped us, helped our cause out. But yeah, you know what, right? But yeah, so I knew there was going to be more minutes added on after Watson scored. Now, I expected about 5 extra minutes or whatever it was, and I turned to Joel behind me and went, "This is going to be the longest 5 minutes of my entire life."
Yeah, I enjoyed watching,
and it really was.
It really
was. You know what? I couldn't even stay in the stadium. I had to go in the concourse. I was that freaking nervous that I thought I can't watch this. I absolutely cannot watch this.
I felt like 45 minutes twice went like that, and then that last 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like,
do you know what I said? I said during the Coventry games, and this applies to this one. I feel like these playoff campaigns have aged me about 10 years. I feel like
I didn't have grey hair at the start.
I'm surprised I haven't got any yet, Mike. I'm surprised I have not got any yet whatsoever.
Michael.
I know. When they got to do the comrade and just go full ball, like, grey hairs. What are you talking about? I don't have any.
When obviously the goal went in, it was like 95, 96, and I was in my head going, like, trying to do maths, like, well, how long is he down for? And they said 7, and like, well, I think there's got to be 100 maybe, and then it got to 90, and I was like, well, we've done 4 more, so we were playing a bit before.
So there's going to be a delay because we're celebrating the goal. That's another minute.
Yeah, and I was like,
you're sort of mentally in your head going, oh my god, how many more minutes of suffering?
Yeah, I was because at that point there was no other thing to go off to say, well, how long's left?
You've got to love the amount we celebrate in that moment, in that period of time when we got given a free kick. It was
when Enzo won us that free kick.
Like, yes! It's like this has got to be over. He's got to blow that whistle.
Well, I remember there was when I had done my little mini hiatus in the concourse. I came back down because I was for context. I'm up in the top row of Wembley, but I'm in the very top to gods of Wembley, but I'm in the very front row of it. So obviously you have to walk down probably about a couple of dozen rows to get there. But someone spotted me that's kindly watches my videos, and I was chatting to them, and I was sort of standing talking, and then there was someone next to me. We were just kind of going, "Ref, blow the whistle." Blow that fucking whistle right now. And one of the best things about it, and one of the things that was most cheered, was when Sheffield United tried to get the ball forward, missed it completely, and it went out for a throw-in. And you're just thinking, oh, thank God. But it still felt like I was aging before my very eyes just because of those at the ending stage of the game. Because you could just sense, and you two will have seen it on the stream, but obviously it'll be exactly the same for people who weren't in the ground. This game and this promotion meant so much to the city of Sunderland, to the fans, to everyone associated with the club, to the players. You could say when we've had years of watching players just disregard the shirt and the privilege that has been bestowed. Go and look back if anyone wants to suffer it. Go and watch Sunderland Till I Die season 1 for that. That'll tell you just how
or 2
people exactly just you can laugh at it now looking back, but people like Jack Rodwell, Didier and Dong, 2 examples alone. So Will Grigg in League One, there's another example. People who check this shirt with disdain. You could tell just how much collectively everybody wanted this and how much it meant, and therefore it encapsulated that in the moment when. So with Watson's goal, I kind of, this says quite a lot actually. I went from shock that we've scored it to get in, we've scored, to do I over celebrate because of his VAR going to find something wrong with it?
You do still have that moment, don't you?
Yeah, you have that in the back of your head, even though you know there's logically nothing wrong with the goal.
Well, that was it. I was a bit like, there's nothing they can give for that because Kiefer Moore passed it away. Watson walked 2 steps with it and curled it in. Yeah. There couldn't physically be anything wrong with it because all the Sunderland players were on the onside of the players as well, and no one was in the eye line of the keeper. And I was like, there's literally can't be anything wrong with this. Like, the only thing they could probably go is well, that was a free kick to Sunderland. But you're like, well, they're not going to pull it back.
Can you imagine if they actually did that though? Thought, that's a free kick to Sunderland, so we're going to bring it back so you can do it again. Like, no, piss off.
No, piss off. We've just scored.
We've just scored the match winner in a playoff final.
This might just be me, but I was also quite in awe of how shredded Tommy Watson is.
Absolutely.
He was like 0% body body fat. I'm like, Jesus, he's ripped.
Yeah, well, no, maybe. Yeah, see how Ian Hard's daughter must certainly like him.
SJ's asking, is the whole team ready? We'll try and quickly come on to that, but we will be doing a lot more videos about that shortly.
I'll end a bit on the go, but like, but honestly, like, I feel it was. I think it was because, but the nerves just increase 100-fold for me because of how we were 5 minutes away from the Premier League, and bearing in mind we've just come from behind to be beating a team that finished 14 points ahead of us. Even though I don't think that that's accurate to the quality of both teams, but they still finished 14 points ahead of us. And
but we sacked off the last 5 games, though.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what I've always said. That I think that points gap is significantly shorter if we hadn't sacked off even 6. To be fair, you look at Norwich. Even when we drew there, we basically played half a team there.
Yeah,
so
true.
you know, but if you look at Reggie Labrisa, that the decision to do that has been vindicated completely because we've ended up flicking the switch, funnily enough, and turning it on in the playoffs. Which you know, I grew so sick of hearing that bloody phrase in the build-up to it. I'm like, well, yes, you can turn it on for the playoffs. So I think, but yeah, when we went 2-1 up, I think it was just, it straight away felt like although we had a lead to lose, and I kind of felt similar to how I was before the second leg against Coventry. It was like, oh shit, we're winning now. We've now got something to
but
hold
that
on
was
to.
90 minutes to hold on to, not a mysterious number under 7.
But that 5 minutes felt like 90 minutes.
Absolutely.
To me. But honestly, the cheer that they even though getting the throw in got right before the ref blew the whistle, you could tell it was coming. And in the stadium, it felt like the atmosphere and the jubilation was slowly creeping up, ready to unleash. And then and to get onto it, as soon as on one of my videos, the second video I put up, which is my weekend vlog, my reaction is on there. Like, just even if you don't watch the rest of it, just go and watch that bit.
I've seen it. It's great, Michael.
It's like 5 minutes. I think it's like 5 minutes, 30 seconds in, or 6 minutes in. Explain. We were just, thanks you, Mike, or Conrad, whichever one of you put that on screen. Well, thanks to the pair of you.
I do think, I mean, this is probably one of the only times I appreciate all of our Sunderland YouTube community. We've got quite a few. Not loads of channels compared to like United and stuff like that. Obviously, we all know Terry and we know for Fan TV. And this must be the first time that I've religiously watched everyone's reaction and everyone's match day vlog, just so I could relive it in a
just taking in all the content that's been made over the weekend.
Milk the whole thing. You know, this is the richest game in football, as it's often dubbed, and we've won it. We've gone up with 2 teams that finished 100 points, for goodness sake. You know, and I think. But the tension, the positive tension, you know what I mean? That the atmosphere was good. It was building up. You're going, we're getting ready to go absolutely ballistic here. And then as soon as the full-time whistle goes, as I'm sure you both would have been on stream, like if you had any composure, then fair play to both of you.
Oh no, I was in my living room with my mum and I burst into tears.
You told me this. You told me this on WhatsApp.
I full on ugly cried for like 30 seconds, and then I said goodbye because she was heading out, and I sort of ran upstairs to join stream with Mike, and I think you said you were fighting back tears, and I was there going, I'm not.
Somebody said to me, why are you so quiet? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just doing that little blink thing, like you know, it's allergies. It's allergies, guys.
Yeah,
but you know what? Like,
wonderful.
Honestly, the I think even the second tier podcast has said this. I think even some of the Sky pundits may have said this. I don't know, but they said that they've never heard noise like it. One, when Watson scored, and 2, when the limbs happened at the end, when it was just there. And I think to compare it to Wickham 3 years ago,
is it not over celebrating, Michael?
Yeah, over celebrating.
Don't tell the celebration police that. Apparently, it's tin pot. Yeah, but there you go. Tell the players that. That's over. No, Luke, you're over celebrating, mate. Your arms are sling. Remember?
Calm down, mate. You'll dislocate your other shoulder. 8 minutes
of the game. You're not allowed to celebrate that. But, honestly, like the celebrations, I've never been involved in anything like it. I think it was the best way I can describe it is Wickham 3 years ago was celebration, but it was relief. This felt like ecstasy. This was
absolutely
much more. And don't get me wrong, the Premier League is where Sunderland belong, but it felt a much more euphoric moment. And I think it was probably because of the way it was won, whereas Wickham was basically. Mate, don't blame you. I think everyone would have done that. I think it was because of the way it was won and because of how much bigger in profile this playoff final was. And it was just like, I've even got one of the BBC, I'm going through the BBC live reporting thing. And this was at 1-1 when Meander scored, but it applies to full time, I think. Ben Ashton said, the guy who reported on it said, one half of Wembley Stadium is shaking.
Yeah.
That tells you just how we are absolutely bonkers as a fan base. But when we get going and we've got something to cheer, good luck containing sometimes. And one thing, just quickly, one thing before we move on. One thing I wanted to say on a bit of an emotional, personal perspective. As you both may have seen, my uncle, who was a big reason as to why I've got into Sunderland, died last year, sadly, of I think it was sepsis last February. And his auntie, and I love both of them a bit. So got me, my uncle, my auntie, and me two cousins, one of whom's 20 and one's 13. My uncle was the only one who really gave a shit about football. He was the one who was sort of like Sunderland, watching whatever sport he could, football, cricket, even though, sorry if anyone likes cricket, but I really don't like it personally. But you've got the darts, you've got the badminton, whatever it was, he wanted to watch it. And my auntie didn't watch much sport after he passed away, which is understandable because it reminded her of him. But she made the effort. But after I was talking to her about Coventry, she watched the playoff final. And one of the things she did, I'll never forget this, she was with a couple of friends because they have hockey up in Manchester, and it's a sort of it's a passion of theirs, for me family, for their friends and everything. Anyway, a couple of the ladies from the hockey club were with her watching the game, who knew my uncle obviously, and my youngest cousin, 13-year-old, she had her Sunderland shirt on, even though she doesn't care about football. She was wearing it, and my auntie tried to call me twice before she finally got hold of me at full time. Even just for 50 seconds because the signal was shite. But for 50 seconds, we're just going, like going like that. It was, and that moment meant a lot to me. It meant an absolute lot to me. And the one thing that kind of sucked was I couldn't bring my uncle to talk about it because he would have loved this season. But you know what? But even afterwards, that emotional moment was on a personal level was something that was I'm never gonna forget. But then afterwards, we just went down the stairs and started banging and just going, Sunderland take over everywhere they go, and everything else, and just billowing at the top of my voice. I sounded like a lunatic, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, it's stuff like that, especially. I mean, we lost Jack Shields last year.
He would have loved that as well.
And I can only imagine his reaction.
Yeah.
And he he's lived on through his mum and stuff like that, and they had a flag down there for him, which was great. But I did love the fact that we kicked off 1 minute past, and it was for British Heart Foundation, which is the charity we raised money for Jack last year. So that was awesome as well. But
it feels quite sorry, Conrad, but it's like for my uncle or for Jack even, it feels quite poignant, but also quite fitting that the first full season after they've died, after Jack's died, that we've gone up. It almost kind of felt like I know the players and the club probably won't have done this obviously with this in mind, but it's almost kind of like a good response to those who've lost. And even if you look at someone like Carlton Fairweather, who we lost recently, that was the respect that man showed me when I was a university student covering Sunderland ladies when he was there. I'll never forget that. And I think that's a tribute to everyone we've lost and people who've been affected by those losses as well. I'm sure you guys will have had this. Everyone will have had someone that they've lost, and I think that was sort of for them really. But on the and exactly, make the solid fortress. Let's hopefully make it in the Premier League when hopefully we're going beaten and finish 10th or something. But give me that any day now. Give me 17th. But was it
7th under Peter Reid?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. We'll see. Different era now, unfortunately, with a lot of thing called money.
I mean, I always remember Jack Shields. One of the famous quotes that he said on one of the reaction videos was at the end when someone asked him, who was the man of the match, and he used to always just say, "Oh, the fans." Do you know? Every
it was the fans.
Time. And I mean, I just sort of bring it back, just exactly that. I'm just going to ask you, man of the match for yesterday, Mike. Not yesterday, Saturday.
Was yesterday Mike's liver for getting him through the day?
Surviving, paracetamol and water the day after.
Man of the match, I'd love to say Mayenda, but for me, Patterson had an absolute stormer.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean,
as much as Tommy Watson got us the goal that got us through, Patterson's everything.
That moment doesn't do anything without Patterson's saves across the game. Yeah,
exactly.
From Brooks, from Moore, absolutely. I agree. It has to be Patterson each time as well. Although Coffee Goblin's coming with Regis as well, so that's got to be up there as well. But I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks watching Wilder's pig face turn and throw a bottle down when the winner goes in, Watson has to be in with a shout just because of giving me that moment of watching Wilder absolutely self-combust.
That's just look at his face on the programme. There you go.
Bit to the left.
I can't even
there you go.
That would help if you could actually see it properly.
What a miserable man he is. I mean, if someone
let's look at the sexy dude.
If someone had told you 2 weeks ago you're going to get promoted by making fat Frank Lampard cry and Piggy Wilder cry, what an absolute
Do you know something? Apparently
that'd have been like you're on crack.
That's what apparently Sheffield United fans call Sheffield Wednesday pigs to insult them. So it's quite funny that you mentioned that with Chris Wilder. And remember how Chris Wilder
A friend
Remember
of
how
mine
Chris Wilder
supports
acted
Wednesday,
when
and
they
that's all
beat
he
Sheffield
calls him.
Wednesday? Do you remember
Yeah.
when they beat Sheff Wed, how Chris Wilder reacted? I'm like,
Mm.
ha, shoes on the other foot, you son.
Exactly,
But,
and now you've
you
still
know,
got to play them and Wrexham next season.
We had so many Wednesday fans in the live stream.
Oh,
It was
love them.
absolutely
You know what?
great.
Love,
See, as you
love
guys
Sheffield
know,
Wednesday. They're the proper team.
Even when we beat Sheffield Wednesday in the League One playoffs 3 years ago, there was almost this kind of camaraderie between the two sets of supporters.
Yeah.
I had at least, I think there was two. I think there was one fan I'm going to call here Lewis, who I've been speaking to a lot all season. And he was he like this. This is quite funny. He got married yesterday, which was a great day, by the way. So if I don't think Lewis will be watching this, but if you are, mate, I hope you had a great day. Obviously, that's obviously important. But he was obviously saying he was really desperate for us to get to the final because his words were, if Sheffield United play Coventry, they'll just beat them. Whereas Sunderland, he thought had a genuine shot of winning and keeping Sheffield United from going up. And apparently he was giving me a voice note, I think, yesterday when I was on Darren couldn't agree more. And on Saturday night when I was just in the hotel bar, because originally we were going to go to Trafalgar Square, but apparently it was dead, and we were quite shattered, so we thought, no, we'll just have a drink in the hotel bar and enjoy it. Anyway, at that point, Lewis sent me a voice note saying he was watching the game and his missus was trying to get him to help get the last minute things sorted for the wedding. So obviously she said, "You're watching 90 minutes, then we're going." And then, as you can imagine, he went absolutely apeshit when Watson scored. And honestly, I think someone else I knew called Libby from uni. I was messaging her happy birthday, the generic Facebook stuff, and then she brought it back onto the football because she's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and she was saying hopefully Sunderland do the job tomorrow. And it gave us, and it gave me a minute to think. Why is she saying? Oh yeah, she's a Sheffield Wed fan. I forgot. So Sheffield Wednesday fans, any of you watching, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Absolutely. We've got our derby day. You get to keep yours. You know that.
Exactly.
That's
and see if you can make Chris Wilder cry even more at Hillsborough.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
if he's kept on.
Absolutely. But quickly for my man of the match, yeah. I'll give it on to Patterson was definitely mine, but I'll give it on to some child who I actually thought played pretty well for the most part when he came on. That was Roberts.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe I'm on my own in that, but
probably
I thought
his best
Roberts
game of the season.
Yeah, Joe, to be fair, but there was one occasion it was right in the build-up to the winner actually, where and that's lovely to see instead of waiting for the EFL ones. Championship is definitely a lot more bearable than League One, but Prem's where we want to be as long as we're competitive in it, obviously. But no, when Roberts came on, I felt like there was a couple of times when Sheffield United had to bring him down to foul him because that was the only way they were going to stop him. And I've always said Roberts is technically one of the best players in the league. It's just that his end product for me, sometimes for a player of his ability, could be a lot better. But at the same time, the ball that he put through to my ender was really good quality as well, to be fair. But no, I remember right before the winning goal, he was dribbling into 3 Sheffield United players. Then him losing the ball led to them passing to Kiefer Moore, who then gave it away for Watson to score the winner. So Roberts indirectly caused the winning goal. But no, absolutely. I thought Roberts in general.
And considering he tore a muscle or something in the Coventry game, which is why he hasn't trained all week, and then obviously he came on injured and still had an assist and a hand in the obviously the second goal as well. So absolutely.
But yeah, so no, I thought Roberts played pretty well actually when he came on. Out of the outfield players, I thought we were seeing a bit more from him, and I thought that. And obviously, to be fair, but obviously Watson takes the plaudits and the highlights. But but like what Mike said, I think you both agree. I think without Patterson's crucial saves, one from Kiefer Moore and one from Andre Brooks, then we don't have the platform to go and score those 2 goals.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I'm going to come on to the last thing of the night before we go. Look at him. That collar is massive.
Can I just say his celebrations on the sideline were Di Canio-esque.
Yeah,
I just needed a knee slide. See that much passion.
Yeah. So we'll get on to the last thing before we sort of wrap it up here. But obviously, watching all the content around after the games, and whether it be other YouTubers,
that's all I'm doing all
Gilesy,
week.
Mad Mistake, Jam Sani, Sunderland Fan TV, anyone who's uploading it there, even the ones who don't support Sunderland, YouTubers who got there. I think there was like Fusion Josh and
Alex
some
Griffin
others.
Was there as well. Yeah.
Alex Griffin got there as well. All their stuff. Have you seen anything that has just been like, I could live in that moment again? I mean, for me, I've got 2, which is watching Chris Rigg's dad sing Chris Rigg Ole 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 with the Sunderland fans, obviously afterwards, which was fantastic. But an underrated one is it's a video of someone filming Watson's goal from the Sheffield United end.
Can I guess
and when he hits it,
Is it when Sheffield United fan goes, way?
Yeah. He hits it and he goes, way. And it just trickles in and the whole stadium erupts.
That was it's obviously so much more hilarious looking at it. That's quickly one thing if you're talking about content, and I put this up into a group chat I'm in on a WhatsApp with a couple of Sunderland fans, and I put actually how's it? Do you know what, right, Thomas, here's my thing. I think with Wilder, I've got no problem with Sheffield United as a club. I think my dislike for Wilder comes from how much of a prick he is with journalists when they ask perfectly fair questions.
Sorry, Darren.
There you go. Just funny if I said prick and he said cock. That's quite funny. But there was one. Okay, I'll tell you what. Then there was one occasion with Wilder when it was when we played Blackburn on Boxing Day. I think it was. Sheffield United lost 2-0 home to Burnley, and Hugh Wasn't-Crop, the guy who does who presents the ITV highlight stuff, he asked him about how. Do you think that your record against teams near the top will need to improve second half of the season if you're going to go up? And he, instead of answering the question properly, he basically just went like, how'd you work that one out? Like, so if we replicate what we did the first half of the season, we'll go up. I'm like, I get why he's defending his players, but they lost twice to Burnley, lost twice to Leeds, lost three times against Sunderland, and were very lucky the other occasion to beat them. Didn't beat West Bromwich Albion, lost away at Middlesbrough. Like, mate, Coventry away. I mean, okay, they beat Coventry at home. They beat Bristol City over 2 games, to be fair to them. But I've said all along that I think Sheffield United, whenever they play against anyone any decent, and it's down to Wilder's tactics, he gets found out. And I think that he thinks he's a better manager than he is. That's my sort of dislike towards Wilder. But actually, to be fair, I wouldn't bet against Sheffield United doing well next season. But there was... But I'll say this to be fair though, right?
It's all over Roy Keane, good. Whose fault is that?
But yeah, no, I've got respect for Sheffield United. Their fans have actually been pretty sound with us, I think. But
listen, he turned up for the most important game of your season wearing pajamas.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, so. But to be fair, one last thing, when it talks to the content, I looked at when Leeds, Southampton beat Leeds, a year ago in the playoff final.
Yeah.
And I looked at, and this is it might sound so irrelevant, but I think it's quite telling. Southampton beat Leeds in the playoff final last year. That got something around 470,000 or something views on YouTube, like Sky Sports Football or whatever YouTube views. Checked ours, Sunderland promoted to the Premier League. It's got 1 million views already.
Yeah, there's levels to this game.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let anyone tell you we are not a massive club, because I think a lot of it obviously will be down to the fact that we were the non-parachute team, the underdogs. A lot of people apparently wanted us to win. Well, yeah, exactly. A lot of people apparently really wanted us to win. I think because a lot of people still see us as a Premier League stature-sized club. Now, look, after next season, whether we still are, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just pointing out 1 million views for a much more recent video. We're massive. End of story.
Can I acknowledge fans of the scum? Because
you can't.
I've not had a negative message from any of them. They're all glad to have us back in the Premier League, and they're looking forward to the derby again. Obviously,
probably because they're probably going to win them.
Well, we're forgetting how many times we've beat them in the past.
True.
But still, it's good. And I think Conrad mentioned it earlier. Everyone seems to be welcoming Sunderland. Nobody's saying, "Oh, Sunderland, they don't belong in the Premier League, or they won't last long, or they're going to yo-yo." It's like it's been such a long time coming.
Happy that we're back.
These owners and this board have done such a good job for longevity of this club that I feel we're going up in the strongest position we've gone up in a long time.
I think you've got to remember as well, and I think if you look at, because I've been asked by my mate as well a few times, and not just the board, but how good a job Regis Labrise has done, and I think. My feeling was before Wembley, he'd done an 8 out of 10 job. Now I changed that to a 10 not because of the fact that, look, obviously we finished 4th and we got promoted, but for context, Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, all very good sides, had parachute payments and I know I keep coming back to parachute payments, but that is the landscape of the upper championship now. A lot of it, I mean, Luton obviously got relegated, but that's an anomaly. More times than not, the parachute payment clubs are pretty much a cert to finish in the top 3, 4. And even if you look at the last, I think if I've got this right, I think it's the last 4 or 5 seasons. I think out of every team, every 3 teams that have gone up, 2 of them have been parachute payment teams every time. That tells you alone how difficult it is. And so Regis Labrise kept us within the top 2 hunt pretty much until the back end of February, with significantly weaker resources by comparison than the other 3. And I'm not knocking Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United for that. They've earned that right by being. Love it. That almost looks like an AI picture for some reason. I don't know why.
Looks like it should be on like 28 years later or something, like Rage Virus.
Imagine that. He's like just built up all this. He's conserved this energy for the 5 defeats, and then he's just unleashed the hell in the playoffs. But yeah, no, he's honestly kept us in the top 2 race until probably about end of February. Then he's realised, right, we're getting the playoffs, so let's make sure we prepare for that. He's then beaten Coventry away, who we have never beaten for 40 years away from home. We've then got 122nd minute equaliser to get through to Wembley, and like we all said, I think we said that if we get past Coventry, we fancy us to do it. Yeah. And bearing in mind, to be fair though, we still had to come from behind against a parachute payment team who've got players like Gustavo Hamer, they've got Raksaki, they've got Callum O'Hare, Tyrese Campbell, Kiefer Moore, Vinny Souza, Harrison Burrows. They've,
Diaz, Cannon, Davies.
Yeah, exactly.
Cooper,
they've got players.
Chowdhury.
They've got players that would walk into about 2/3 of the teams in this division. And that for me is. And while I don't like Wilder, I've criticised Sheffield United's performances. They've still got some good bloody players at this level. So
I'm going to collect mine next year.
Absolutely, take it in. So we've come from behind, and in the end, I thought deservedly won as well.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to hand it to Labrise, and like Mike said, to KLD, who I've criticised in the past, to Speakman, to Harvey, and you've got to remember as well. If I'm right, the ownership said this was like a 5-year plan. I think they had, but it was from their first full season. So that was the League One promotion year, which is 21-22, 22-23. Finished 6th with Mowbray, got in the playoffs. 23-24, okay, that was a very disappointing season. And then this season, year 4, they've delivered promotion.
Absolutely.
So they delivered a 5-year plan in 4 years.
And look at the players that we've brought through in the academy in that time. And I know, like, we're selling the likes of Watson, but the academy players we're generating through this club as well. All eyes have got to be on Sunderland for like a lot of these Premier League teams coming up. Because, I mean, people are saying, we're going to have to spend, we're going to have to spend, we're going to have to spend. Are we really? I mean, a couple of experienced heads would be good. But what we've done with a team so young, it just shows how much passion they have to win. I've said it many times when we've had like teams in the past and we've had like Larson and Catamol and all that, and some games look like so lackadaisical. You think, get the youngsters on, at least they want to win.
Yeah.
And that's been the case this season. We've seen that passion come out of them at the right time.
This ownership's listened to Mike say that and put it on tenfold, really, and just go, right, let's get all the kids on and then we'll really want to win.
We'll have to do another video, one of almost like a stay or a go tier list like we did last time, Mike. But this time we'll maybe do it live with people so we can generally get like a vote going on what would happen. Because I think last time we just got absolutely criticised for our decisions.
The thing I'd say to what Mike is...
Sorry, did you see Dortmund's comments before it goes off the screen?
Yeah, Hummel Kids, stadium improvements, club store, hospitality suites, PA system, signing Enzo promotion. You've got to give him that. And I think the thing I would say for what Mike said, look, I think we will have to spend a bit of money. I mean, we're already spending, I think it's 20 million now on Enzo Lefebvre.
But 10 of that's subsidised by Watson.
Did you see that?
No, but that's
Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip? I think you sent it to me, Conrad, of Luke O'Nien asking Enzo have you got to stay now?
He went, you got to stay now. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, way.
You know what? I'm going to give Lefebvre credit as well, by the way, here, because I've been someone who I've said I've been disappointed with his performances, but I don't know if you saw, and I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently it's quite sad, really. He I can't remember how recent it was, but apparently he discovered his dad dead or something along those lines.
Wow.
In a way, I'm hoping obviously that's wrong because that's a really horrible thing to have to go through. But like, if that is true, then fair play to him, because like I don't think many people could have. It reminded me a bit similar of when Grant Ledbetter, when we played Portsmouth in the first League One year when he lost his mother, and the character that shows from both players is remarkable. But the point is that we've delivered that promotion within 4 years, and for me, this was our best chance of going up because I think if you look at the league next year. I mean, Premier League's obviously going to be hard, but quickly, I think we will have to spend well on a couple of players. But I think you've got to call that. I think what gives me a bit of hope for us going forward in the Premier League, and it doesn't mean we'll stay up, but I think it gives me a bit of hope. If you look at the promoted sides that have gone up the last 2 seasons, each one of them, maybe apart from maybe Luton, each one of them had their own set of circumstances that have been really detrimental to their chances. Maybe not so much Ipswich, because they just went, right, they were mint in the Championship, so we'll sign them. And it'll probably work for next year, to be fair. But I think Speakman. I'd love to see what Speakman and Harvey can do with some serious money behind them. Because in general, when they've signed the hits, there've been a few misses in there, obviously, but the hits have been really high. And I think that And the more money we've got, the better chance we've got of getting better players now, especially being in the Prem.
I know it's a money game, and like I say, we are going to go on and do another show, but there's still 112 people in here, so let's keep talking.
We've already
here, like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Why are you continuing talking? We've only just gone and won promotion at the Premier League. It's nothing significant happened, you know.
No, but I mean, we talk about like Premier League being all about the money, but I think last season, if you look at the Premier League standing this season, it's opened up completely, because a couple of seasons ago, if I said to you that, you know, Spurs would be just staving off relegation, Leicester would go down, Man United would finish 15th, you would think I was
just to add to that as well.
Land.
Spurs finishing 17th, yet are in the Champions League next season.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
Have you ever seen that meme where like someone's eating their kebab at a table at like a kebab shop, just completely oblivious to everything? That's Spurs, and in the background there's like 5 people fighting and flipping each other over desks. That was yesterday's Champions League race, while Spurs were just sat there eating their kebab.
Or just going, we're already in.
We're already in.
But you've got, like say, you've got Forest, who are sudden big contenders in there. Bournemouth, who are sudden big contenders
Villa the last couple of years.
Exactly, and all these teams, if you go back 10 years, where were they, sort of thing? And it's insane. And I think we're going up at the right time with the right team. And I've got faith we're not going to be purely in a relegation battle next season. I really don't think we will be.
Wow. So are you calling now? You think we'll stay up?
I think we'll be mid-table at the worst.
Wow, that is very optimistic. To be fair, though,
heard it here first.
Okay,
let's click it for a short now, guys. When we're 20th in January.
We're 20th and we've only won like 6 points all season. But do you know what? Right? The thing that gives me hope is I think our recruitment team in general is pretty good. And I think at Premier League level, I'd love to see what we could attract. If we could, I know Regis Labreeze would have had a lot to do with this, but Governor, give me that right now. But if you, well, we'll see. Well, you know, Mike said these things before and he's been right, so we'll see about that one. But Mike
thinks the table's 34, so 17th is mid-table.
Well, you never know. If Man City get a bunch of sanctions together and get deducted so many points, then which it probably won't happen. But say it did happen, then all we've got to do is finish above the other 2 promoted clubs, and then we'll be okay. But do you know what? Being serious though, so I'm not saying we definitely will stay up in that regard, but I think the recruitment team we've got with some significant money behind them would give me a bit more faith that we might have a better chance than people think. But the good thing is now we are talking like this instead of going, well, we didn't go up now, so we're probably going to lose him all over the place. And look, even though it looks like Job could be off anyway, even if you look at it from this sense, I'm a bit disappointed if he does go that he doesn't see a year of Premier League football with us. But at the same time, if you look at it this way, I think it's going to be. I think with Tommy Watson, you're getting 10 million. That pays for half of Enzo Lefebvre's fee already. And if Job's sold, then that pays for the rest of it, and you could get another bit there. So, and very quick.
I mean, we'll go on to. I'll get the comment back up.
Congratulations to you all. Big job of hanging in. Yeah, but this is the thing now. Even if worst case scenario happens and we go back down next season, we're now a parachute payment club. The landscape financially is totally different. So, it's that go. Honestly, I think people. We won't appreciate it until in time. Even if we go down next season, but the season afterwards in the Championship,
how many times do I have to be right before you have faith in me, Michael?
Well,
okay, we've put a shot. Obviously,
people underestimate how big that Watson goal is financially for us.
Yeah, definitely.
We've seen obviously today. We'll touch on it now. The Joe Bellingham is off in talks with Eintracht Frankfurt. Apparently had talks already with Dortmund and Leipzig. Could be another one that's interesting. Nothing official, of course, nothing announced on there. He did put on his Instagram, job finished. As if you're reading into crypticness of like, that's a strange way of saying it. Do you mean you're finished? And then he's also putting out stories of his contract extension from August, but with a glass of wine over it. And you're a bit like, well, I don't fully understand what this means. So,
yeah,
if we are looking that, likely that Job is off, do we see any potential replacements along the line? More of experienced players that we go. How do you see the Job thing falling, Mike?
That is where you have to spend the money for your direct replacement of someone with Premier League experience. And I don't mean let's see who Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester can lose because they're going down. I mean really dig deep and pull out a central midfielder that can make a difference. You know what I mean? Henderson potentially, but is he not too
just
old?
for leadership? Yeah, but just for leadership, and I don't know if you could get him on a free. I don't know what his contract situation is.
I think
at
he's
Ajax,
under
but-
contract another couple of years at Ajax, but I think I would say I'd ask the question. Why not?
Yeah, but Job replacement needs to have his energy levels, his work ethic, his getting back and stuff like that. As much as like I'd hate to lose Rig, I'd hate to lose this, that, and the other. Job's probably is the one. I think we've said it many times this season. When he's not in games, we struggle to win.
Definitely.
So if we let him go, or he wants to go, I'm a strong believer if the player wants to go, you can't hold on to them because they'll just never be the same player. But if he wants to go and he is going, then we need to really, that's where the money has to go, purely on replacing that engine, because that is the engine.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will have underestimated how big Job has been for us this season. If you look at the improvement, I mean, even in his first season.
Did he say Dobson before?
No,
he did.
George Dobson's at Wrexham, isn't he?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well,
to be fair, though, it's a shame with Job, because even if he does really want to go, then it's fair enough. And at the very least,
I'd have liked 1 year in the Premier League with him. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing that sort of disappointed me.
The one disappointment thing is I was like, I'd just love to have seen you with us in the Premier League.
Well, exactly. The Premier League's the biggest league in the world, isn't it? It's the most watched league in the world. It's the biggest stage in the world. I know that Frankfurt apparently are in the Champions League, and obviously, look, if a club like, say, Dortmund came in for him and offered him playing regular football every week, I get that. That's very hard to turn down. But I think with Job, it's this case of that at least he's left knowing that we've got promoted, and it gives us a chance. It gives us a better chance to replace, I think, because again, we'll have more money to spend on a replacement.
Yeah.
But I mean,
if you were going to lose someone out of all our players for the money they could bring in, but also what options it gives us to replace in that position,
exactly.
He's probably the one, isn't he? Where you can go, actually, you're going to get the most money and give us the best chance to replace you.
To be honest, I think if you were going to replace if you were going to sell either of him or Rig, as much as I really like Rig, he's probably the one that I would have probably chosen out of the two of them, even though I wanted to keep both of them. And who knows, Bellingham's for the Premier League. Yeah, well, we need to make sure. Well, Birmingham have got a 15% one, I think.
Yeah,
when we signed him. So, but even that's another story of the model in progress, where if we signed him for upwards of, I think it's at £1.5 to £3 million when we got him. And I think now, if we get any less than £25 million, I'd be disappointed with that.
We were saying this before.
I would even argue we should be getting more because we've got promoted.
Yeah, if you look at Watson barely played,
10 million quid.
10 games for us, 10 million quid, scored 3-4 goals for us, 10 million quid. Job did however much for us, minutes, across all the seasons.
2 seasons of senior football now as well. Yeah.
Can the club just put a PowerPoint display together for all the other players and show them what's happened with Jack Clark as a reason you need to stay at the club?
But I mean, I agree. I think it would be I'd be gutted to lose Job, and I think
we need to be aiming for 25-30 with sell-ons is what we need to be aiming for.
Exactly. I mean, and I think that the nonsense that I've seen all the time is always, he's only in the team of the season because of his brother. He's only hyped because of his brother. If anything, he's underhyped because his brother's Jude Bellingham. So, and that's another one. So if you're going to say that the Joe Bellingham money pays for the fee, then that Watson money could go towards a couple of significant loan deals, possibly, or even some really good ones in there. So,
but I mean, we're in a good position where we don't have to put any stadium improvements for going into the Premier League.
No.
The money we get for going up could just be wages and stuff like that. We're already established as a club that could easily go into the Premier League in this position.
I mean, even if you look at someone like Luton when they went up, I mean, obviously for them, I know they're in League One now, but for them, the Premier League money was absolutely massive in the sense of building their new stadium and sort of helping them get a better future for themselves.
And now look at them, League One, enjoying all those empty seats.
I know, exactly. Going away to the likes of, I don't know, Port Vale or AFC Wimbledon. What a joy!
Don't sound bitter at all, Conor.
How did Andros Townsend and Ross Barkley see you out?
It's quite weird how they
Carlton Morris up front in the Premier League.
Weren't they quite funny with us though when they beat us in the playoff semis? It's like, come on. But Mike's totally right though. Like, with Luton, for different reasons, that money helps towards secure their future longer term. We've already got the stadium. We've got everything ready to kick off and to take off in a good way if we want to. So I think for me, the big thing we can do, because obviously next season will be a massive challenge, but if we can manage to somehow stay up next season, then you're already within that cycle of the top 17, and all of a sudden you're then really able to hit it. But again, I think we have a much better chance of progressing properly because we've now got Prem money behind us.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So if I had to ask you now, and it'll be just before we wrap this up here, do we stay up next season, Michael?
As of right now, no. As of right now, being the key phrase before Mike loses his cool. Okay, then. All I'll say is right now I don't think so. But if we nail recruitment, I think we have a better chance than people think.
Okay, Mike.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the year after competing in Europe. So yeah,
I was going to say, Mike's going to go, well, we're going to finish
when we've won the FA
next
Cup.
year, and we're going to win the title the year after and everything.
Yeah.
I genuinely think we're going up in the best position we ever have. And when we've gone up with Peter Reid, despite Quinn Phillips, you can never compete with that. I still think squad depth and strength, it's the best ever we've gone up, and it's the most unstable the Premier League has been for a long time. So I think rivaling 7th, if not sneaking that 6th spot, is not total pipe dream. Yes, you all might think I'm smoking something, but I'm just drinking Diet Coke and I'm just on normal vape liquid. I'm absolutely fine. And I've been right so many times this season, you need to have faith in me.
To be fair, though, I've heard weirder things like when Philly went, it is more true important winning the Papa John's Trophy than getting promoted from League One. That was when I was like, Philly, you're on crack. Shut up.
Yeah.
So but to be fair, that look, like I said, I think Mike is right. I think we're going up in the best way we could have done, because I think next season again, Birmingham and Wrexham are probably going to be two of the strongest promoted sides coming up. I mean, I know Birmingham should be with the money they've spent, but they're still going to be strong there. Wrexham, we know the story behind them. You've got then Sheffield United, you've got Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, Coventry. I imagine because how are they going to have a good start now? Robbins isn't there anymore. Middlesbrough, are they going to get rid of Carrick? And because
it's going to be a mad season for the Championship next season.
Well, that's what I mean. This is why
we don't have to be a part of it. It's fantastic.
Exactly, and hopefully we're not a part of it again for a long time. But we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the point is that next season is going to be, as a neutral, it's probably going to be quite exciting for the Championship. But that's going to be such a battle to try and get out of. And I'm just so glad we took the chance and went up when we did.
I mean,
what do you think, Conrad?
26 points kept you safe this season. If you're in the Premier League, 26 points would have kept you safe. That's nothing. That's nothing. I genuinely think people are worried about nothing.
And Mike, you asked me. I'm in the same camp of, I think we've got more than enough at the moment to be, 17th or higher. Absolutely, and I weirdly think we're one of the better teams set up to survive out of the promoted teams, because we take each game as the opposition, as we saw over the playoffs, rather than playing our system. And you've seen in the past when Burnley go up under Vincent Kompany, he's like, well, we play attractive football, this, that, and the other. And you're like, well, how was 20th position for you, getting battered every week, And then Leeds United, yes, murder ball caught everyone off at the start, and then everyone got used to it. Wilder's overlapping centre-backs did well for a bit, and then everyone just went, is that it? Right, okay, and just found it out. Whereas I think we're very good at game management. So as long as we invest properly, keep a good group of this sort of team together, I don't think there's any reason why we can't build on and have a great one. I wouldn't say European. I'm not quite going to go that far, but we will win the FA Cup, so it's fine.
Yeah, give us that.
Give a trophy. We'll get a lucky draw all the way through, and then we'll beat Man United in the final, and they'll be like, how have they got to another final? They're shit.
No. We get to a final and we beat Saudi Arabia in the final.
Well, that'd be nice.
So I think, but I think you're right. I think that the thing I would look at the promoted clubs is Burnley have lost, I think, is it CJ Egan-Riley, who's one of their better defenders, and they're straight away gonna. If you offer me that right now, I'll be buzzing for next season. But you know what? Yeah, I think Burnley. I think Burnley will finish the worst of the three, because I think Scott Parker gets found out considerably in the Prem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He might be better suited than what Vincent Kompany was, to be fair. But then you look at Leeds, and while Leeds, for me, have the best squad at the moment of the three promoted clubs, I know Mike's going to go, no, he doesn't know. They haven't got like Chris Rigg or Joe Bellingham. But I feel if you're going to have that, Daniel Farke's Prem record doesn't fill me with massive confidence. But again, he should have bigger resources at Leeds than he did at Norwich, if I'm going to be fair to him. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how it happens. But I think there's, a lot for how we do, for me, massively depends on the quality of recruitment.
Absolutely. So, well, we've had about an hour and a half on. Oh, Mike, do you want to say something? Sorry.
You're all pessimistic in the chat. So you're all ridiculous. You'll all be saying, "Sorry, Mike, you were so right." Halfway through the season,
you keep a timestamp of this one, and you'll bring it up to us in May next year. That's
fine.
I
will save every clip. Yeah.
Then you'll just go
live chats.
You just go, dreamers, were we?
Yeah. And we just wanted to do this because we just wanted to enjoy this weekend. Done. We're going to enjoy it this week when you go back to work, and everyone goes, "Hey, congratulations!" Or if you get to stick it to a few fans of other clubs who secretly wanted you to lose, it's going to be a great week, and we just want to enjoy this moment
or everyone
while we
who wrote us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button if you haven't already, and subscribing if you're new, it would really help us out and get the video out to as many people as possible. Subscribe to Michael Bowers' channel. He makes really good Sunderland content. 2 great videos over the weekend, of course, for Wembley as well. And Mike, do you want to tell the people what you do on your channel, Michael? I realise you both called Mike there. Go on, Bowers. Give us a plug for your channel.
No, I'll just say it's literally just my video. You type Michael Bowers Sunderland. Like I said, I do in general match videos not long after the games are finished, and obviously after the weekend I've done not 1 but 2 videos because my second video is a weekend vlog. It was my first attempt at trying it, so I think it seems to have gone down okay. But yeah, no, thanks ever so much for everyone who's watched. Trying to get a 6K subs, which I kind of hoped I would have got to after promotion, but you know what? I'm not going to complain about that. We've gone up, so we'll see. I think hopefully a Premier League audience will get me a bit more in terms of that now. But for now, enjoy it. But thanks everyone who's watched all season and helped me out. Much appreciated.
Very well said, Mike. Do you want to say your goodbyes?
Yeah, somebody sent me an email actually and said, are we still doing stuff? And yes, we are. Madaboutsunderland.co.uk is still there, and you can go and buy a shirt and stuff like that.
We'll have some good ones from the final coming out. I think we've got some ideas floating about.
Yeah. I mean, we might get sued, but get them now before we have a legal claim against us. But I mean, it's just a small way you can support the channel. We never want to turn on memberships and gimmicks and stuff like that. So we do really appreciate any support we do get and your subscriptions. And we've grown since January to the size of the channel we are now, which is 1,500
subs.
Nearly 1,500 subs in 6 months. So you guys have been absolutely awesome in supporting us in this, and we'll all grow together as a Premier League club next season. Oh,
he's Randy Orton. Look at him doing the pose. Do it again.
I'm gonna do it for everything now. I'm gonna do it for everything. Have you done the dishes?
Very good. Right, well, cheers everyone for watching. We'll be back probably this week, sometime maybe next week, with more videos on the current squad, players we need to be linked with, and any news that comes up as well. So have a good week at work, and we'll see you all again soon. See you later on now.